Okay, let's have a look at the underside of my lovely 2.1 litre fuel injected motor. What we have is a 5 kilogram billet manufactured flywheel. The motor can easily idle with this 5 kilogram unit in spite of it being under half the weight of the original one. In fact, we actually get this engine to idle at 1200 RPM because that's what the ISCI camshaft demands for longevity, but it will quite contentedly idle at 800 RPM. Because it's a brand new manufacture and we're on the 8-bolt crankshaft here, it's got M8 bolts securing the clutch cover, and there's our lovely new spigot bearing, which we use the sealed version of it, and the high torque starter motor. And over here is the lambda sensor that we always use for both tuning of all our cars, carburetted or injected, but in this case on the road map we use the lambda sensor to continuously adapt to give the correct lambda readings. Looking at the cable operated rally clutch in a little more detail, we have seen cars come in with the standard arm fractured here and across here. Now, in honesty, this is not a failure of Volvo. This is generally because somebody's over adjusted it and you've gone over pressured on it, it then fatigues and cracks and you lose your clutch. So what are the symptoms if you have a suspicion this might have occurred? It's simply that you lose your clutch entirely. So you'll find it very difficult to engage first or reverse at standstill, and all your clutch changes will try to grate the gears. And then when you go down beneath the car and watch it being operated, you'll see this arm moving perfectly freely, but if you then take the cover, rubber cover back and inspect this, you should see this crack opening and closing as the clutch cable's used. So that's how to identify it. So the way we avoid this happening, particularly on, of course, a big rally like the London to Cape Town or the Peking to Paris, is we're going to take a bit of 20mm bar, flat bar. It sits flush here where the clutch operating arm cover rests, coming out to close to where the cable comes in and welded at the inboard end where the release bearing resides. And whatever state your clutch cable finds itself in at the end of an event, it shouldn't crack your operating arm now. So we'll go and install that. So you've acquired your 2 litre Type 9 gearbox, and just note that 2 litre, don't buy the V6 because it won't work with our adapter plate. You'll also see this is how I've gone about making the gearbox mounts. And we have the adapter plate with its selector shaft cut out, pair of M12 holes, pair of M10 holes for securing this to the gearbox. So what we have is a pair of M12 by 1.5 by 30mm long countersunks up at the top here, going into those 2 countersunk holes, and then coming through from the back here we have a pair of M10 by 25 cap screws which go into the lower threaded M10 holes on the plate. So that's it mounted, 2 countersunk and 2 cap screws, mounting the adapter plate solidly. Now whilst you're here, just check that your clutch release bearing is correct. You'll be using the bigger 43mm unit. And what you want to do is, this on the Type 9 should be 32mm diameter. Take your release bearing and just make sure it's a nice, snug, comfortable fit. There we go, like that. Righty-ho, let's fit the bell housing. Okay, so a touch of high performance grease where the release bearing slides, and whilst we're here we'll just put some on the splines as well for the clutch friction disc. You'll see that we drilled out the original location here to accept the Type 9 selector shaft. So, on goes our release bearing. There we go. Take it round, and our shorter M10s go in the bottom, and we can afford to have slightly longer M10s at the top. And we're ready to load that onto the 142. This shifter here is the Type 9 Quick Shift, manufactured by Ian Ricks up in Harleston, who supplies Demon Tweaks amongst others. It's a delightful bit of kit, well worth having. And we're just going to pop the Type 9 into gear to make it easier when we load it and mate it into the clutch and flywheel on the 140. There we go, in gear, ready to load into the car now.